double live, and you'll check on the laptop to be sure we're actually broadcasting on both platforms, please. Fantastic. Let's see. I'm going to start looking at this piece of wood. I think that's like a really underappreciated part of woodworking, is taking a piece of wood and before you do anything to it, like what's actually going on with it. It's really worthwhile just to look at it. Winding sticks are good. Let me grab those real quick. I feel like I get a lot of questions about winding sticks, and bizarrely I can only find one. That's hilarious. Oh, here's the other one. So it's good to look at things with winding sticks. So here's a totally rough piece of lumber. And if I look at this with the winding sticks, it is completely obviously twisted. So I get down and I look this way and I just see if the tops of the sticks are parallel, and they're like very much not parallel. One thing that I find that's kind of interesting is that these seem like they're actually even better when you're a beginner. The longer I do woodworking, the less I find I need them. What I do surprisingly often is just sight down the board, and like the twist of this board is completely obvious. I also try to keep my workbench like, you know, flat-ish, and well, there it is. That's it right there. That's the twist. There's no question about that. So I've got this piece of wood. This is construction spruce, and I stained it because I was doing a talk for a woodworking club in Cincinnati. So shout out Cincinnati Woodworkers Club. Super nice bunch of guys. I know I shouldn't say guys, but it was all guys. So, and they had me down there to do a talk a few months ago, and I stained up a few pieces of spruce because it's really easy to see what I'm doing. Because as soon as I plane it a little bit, the stain's gone and you can see what's going on. So I know this piece is twisted right here like this. These are the corners that are moving. So my high corners are the opposite corners. They're not moving. I like to grab it by the high corners and flip it. And that lets me remember this corner and this corner are the ones I have to deal with. So I'll put it up against my planing stop and take a few stop shavings with my foreplane, paying attention to those corners. And this piece has some gnarly grain, and it's got some knots and stuff. But I really like this technique of working with stained construction wood, because if you look, you can see exactly what I did. I just took down this corner, and I stopped about a third away up the board, and then I went about a third, almost half on this one, and only took this corner. And a really important thing is to brush off your chips, because they can mess up the reading you get from the bench. Then, if you put the board on the bench, look, that twist is already gone, basically. So just that little bit of localized planing, that's basically all that it took to get the twist out of this board. I mean, it's not perfect. If I shove really hard, I can find a rock in it somewhere, but that basically did it. So once I've got the twist out, then the thing I want to do after that is take the whole thing down to the level of these corners. And if we think about this being like rough sawn wood, this is like saw marks, and all that stuff needs to be gone. So same tool, foreplane. Woo! Man, the knots in this are... It mustn't have been very good wood the day I picked this out. Now here's a good example of a piece that's been foreplaned. You can still see there's little stuff. There are actual saw marks here, so it's a lot like working with actual rough lumber. And there's some tear out around the knots. You're going to get that with a foreplane. I feel like I should explain what a foreplane is, because not everybody knows. So I use a wooden foreplane, but it could be metal too. You could use a Stanley No. 5 size for a foreplane. But the way that you know it's a foreplane is that the mouth is wide and the iron has a lot of camber. It's really curved. And that allows you to take big bites and move a lot of material really quickly. There's a more common plane called a scrub plane. It's the exact same thing. It's just shorter. Scrub planes work great too. I used one for years. But then when I moved on to using a foreplane, I realized the length of the sole, this one's about 14 inches, it just tends to flatten stuff. So while I'm knocking down all those high spots, I'm also getting added benefit of flattening. It's almost like a short jointer plane. And you know, this surface that I just did, the high spots, and just went over once, I mean, you can just tell it's really flat. now that I've done a little bit of work, I'm more inclined to take out the winding sticks now because now it's harder to read the surface. And if I look at it now, yeah, it's extremely close to being flat. And I probably need to take another layer off to get a better idea. The one thing about the four-plane that, I mean, it's not a negative, it's just what happens. When you have that really curved iron, you're going to get a scalloped surface. And so this surface is nowhere near flat. It's, yeah, I can see a lot of light under the side of that plane. So let me take my more finely set jack plane and let's see, yep. And you can see I get this very like interrupted shaving because I have those scallops in the wood. And it takes a bit of work. There we go. Now I'm getting full length, full width shavings. And it looks like I might need a lateral adjustment. I'm getting a little bit of a track there. Let's see. Maybe my cut's just a little too deep. I'm going to back off a little bit and take a little bit of a finer cut. This iron is cambered too, just not quite as much. And so if I have it set up correctly, I'm not going to get any scallops or tracks or any other problems. So that's two planes, and it took less than 5 minutes. We've hardly been live for a minute. And you can see the surface that I've got. It's actually literally shiny after going over it twice with two planes, and I didn't even use what we typically call a smoothing plane. So people are often in the comments, they're on my case about hand tool woodworking being so slow. But I mean, if you kind of know what you're doing and you pick your wood and you pick your projects, I don't really find that to be the case. Hey, so good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. If you're just joining us or if you've been here, we're super happy you wanted to join us. We don't go live very often because we're super busy making the regular videos and making shorts and making patron exclusive content and making tools to sell on Compass Rose. So we just don't have time. But today we're super excited because we just wanted to go live, and we really want to announce this new thing that we're doing. We have a new platform for buying and selling tools, and it's called Tool Trader. And you can check it out right now. It's live, and it has a few members, and it has some things up for sale. If you go to tooltrader.net, and Nate, my fantastic editor, is going to drop that into the chat right now. So if you're chatting with us, you're chatting with Nate, and he's there to answer your questions or relay some questions to me. And Tool Trader is a thing that we did because of being really frustrated with buying and selling tools. I just hear from people every day, it seems like, who are telling me, hey, listen, I want to buy the old tools that you're talking about. I want to buy vintage tools. I want to get some of these cheap tools you talk about, like marking gauges. I can buy marking gauges for $1, but I live in Ohio, and a lot of people don't live in spots like this where tools are easy to come by and inexpensive. And of course, there's like a ton of other platforms online where you can buy used stuff. We all know what they are. But I'm always frustrated by those. I've never had a great experience buying tools on eBay, you know? There's always too many results every time I search, and then I get a bunch of stuff that's not what I'm looking for, and then a lot of the sellers aren't informed. They're not woodworkers. They don't know. And so we're going to try something else. We're going to do a platform that's just for woodworkers to buy and sell woodworking tools. But today's our live stream to announce that. And what's cool about Tool Trader, our new platform, is that it also has some amazing social media features like integrated video and live streaming. You can live stream right on Tool Trader, and we're doing that right this second. So with Tool Trader and with the app, you can stream video on Tool Trader and then simultaneously stream to basically any other platform you want. We're just doing YouTube right now, but we could do Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, all of them. We could be simultaneously streaming to like 5 different places, which would be crazy. Today we're just doing YouTube and Tool Trader, and we're only going to stay on YouTube until 4:20. And then the stream's going to go on for a full hour. But if you want to catch the whole thing, you have to go over to tooltrader.net. You don't have to join, you don't have to account or anything, you can just watch it there, but we do want to get people over there to check it out. So I've taken one side of this board and I have flattened it. I've taken all the twist out. I've gotten a pretty good surface on it. Once I'm satisfied with this, this is going to be my reference surface, and I think I'll use a marker because it's so much easier to see on camera. I'm going to give this my face mark, which is this curly Q looking thing right here, and that's actually the top of a capital F, F for face. And what's cool about it is the little tail down here points down to the edge, so you always know where you're going to go next. I'm going to go to this edge, and I can turn it this way so that you can see. Now with this board that's only 7 inches wide, I don't need to go into the vise if I have a toothed metal planing stop, which I do. Those teeth are going to bite into the end grain, and they're going to keep that board surprisingly steady, steady enough to plane. Of course, the end of the board isn't really cooperating, but the foreplane is a weapon of mass destruction. Foreplane doesn't care. So that way I've taken off a lot of the material. I mean, look, I can just see with the naked eye, this side here, super high. We'll do a couple of strokes, take another one down the middle, and then again, it's amazing what you can accomplish with just the naked eyeball. That's pretty good, but I'm not going to rely on my eyes for that. This is a good time for a square, and I think a lot of us are used to using fancy combination squares. I've got a couple right behind me, but ye old shop-made wooden square is pretty good too. So I'm going to register my wooden square against my face because that's the only true edge. Register it up like that, and then, here, let me lift it. I'm going to bring it down to see what's going on with my edge. And you got to check it in a couple places. So there and there. My board is high on this back edge right here. And it's high enough that I'm going to stick with my foreplane. Let's have a look at that. Now I'm going to use a different grip right now. I usually put my hand like this, but I need to be more precise. I need to control where the iron hits the wood. So I'm going to use this grip here, often called a pinch grip, and it allows my fingertips to be like a fence, just like that, and it keeps the blade just on that edge. And you can tell that I took wood away just where I wanted to, because look at the shaving I got. That's just where I wanted to take material away. And I know just from experience that I probably need 2 of those, and then I need to go down the middle to kind of even things out. And that should be pretty close to square. Let's see what happens. So I did the thing that happens a lot of the time. I went too far on this edge. I got a little carried away. 1 probably would have been enough. No problem. Pinch grip and do the opposite edge, just like that. Didn't bite down well enough. And I think it's probably time to switch to a finer plane because the coarseness of the foreplane is probably getting in my way. A couple of strokes with the jack, and then again, let's have a look. That's a nice square edge. That is completely good. So now I've got 2 edges, and right here where the face mark points to that adjacent edge, I'm going to make this little upside down V shape or carrot shape right here. That's the edge mark. And the edge mark points back to the face, and the face points to the edge. And this is called the face edge rule, and it's traditional stock preparation, and it's really useful because now I have 2 known surfaces, and for a lot of woodworking, that's all I need. If you're just joining us, this live stream is to announce our brand new platform for buying and selling used and vintage tools and handmade tools and supplies. It's called Tool Trader, and you can go find it at tooltrader.net. And Tool Trader also supports streaming videos. So we are streaming this video stream right now on Tool Trader. We're only going to keep going on YouTube for another 6 minutes. And then we're going to turn off the YouTube stream, but it's going to go on for a full hour over at Tool Trader. So go to tooltrader.net. Just scroll down a little bit until you see live, and this video will be there. And actually, Nate, have you checked that out yet? Have you looked at Tool Trader and seen if this live stream shows up?
Yes, I'm watching it right now.
Excellent. Nate's watching it right now, so we know that it works. This is a new thing for us. Nothing is for certain. So I'll talk a little bit more about the face edge rule, but before I totally abandon my four-plane, I just want to point out what four-plane shavings are like. They're not like the wispy plane shavings that you're used to. Like here's a shaving just from my jack plane, and this is a pretty heavy shaving, but it's still very light and feathery. The four-plane shaving is stiff. It's like cardstock, like manila folder. And if you bend it, it actually snaps. You can probably, I got a mic on my chest. I think you can hear it. Hold on. You hear that? Yeah, that's a four-plane shaving, snapping. That's how big and stiff and different they are. I see a lot of people doing hand tool woodworking and trying to do all of their stock preparation with a fine hand plane like this that has a straight-ish iron and a very tight mouth, and they get frustrated. And I would get frustrated too. This sort of plane won't do rough stock prep. You need a scrub plane or a four plane for that. So now that I've done these two surfaces, believe it or not, for some pieces of furniture, I might actually stop here because these are all the reference surfaces that I need. If I were making a tabletop, or a table apron, I should say, so this part right here, you'd have a leg here and a leg over here. I would just have one more step. Let's get a good bite on that. And four plane. Actually, funny story, I was giving a presentation for the Cincinnati Woodworkers Group, and I brought a piece of wood that had a lot of bow to it. And so when I pushed down on the far end, it rocked up a lot. And I went to plane it against my stop, and it rocked up above the stop, and I gave it a shove, and the whole board just sailed off the bench. Just the whole thing. It flew like a majestic bird and then landed on the floor, and then everybody in the room broke into applause. Like it was like I had done some sort of Olympic high dive or something. It was a truly hilarious moment in woodworking. And somehow I was still a popular speaker. They still seemed to like me after that. I just four-planed this edge, and if I were actually using this in a piece of woodworking, I'm done. I'm not going to do any more preparation. So this is my show surface. It looks good, and it's flat and straight. This is the edge that I'm going to attach the tabletop to, just like this. Here's the underside. I four-planed it so it looks straight. Yep, looks fine. Doesn't need to be straight. And you're thinking, wait, what are you going to do to the back of that board, Rex? Nothing. We're actually making a table, and I'm making one right now. I'm making a little shaker table in an exclusive patron series. When I made the aprons for that, I didn't do anything at all to the inside of the boards. I didn't even four-plane them. And they've got like a little bit of bark, tear out, saw marks. If nobody's going to see it, it doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned. So we're getting close to the end of our YouTube stream, but this whole party is going to continue over at tooltrader.net. That's our new platform for buying and selling used and vintage woodworking tools. And we're going to go for a full hour on ToolTrader. So head over to tooltrader.net and just scroll down a little bit, and you'll be able to see this live stream. You'll be able to keep watching it. Nobody's going to ask for your email address. Nobody's going to make you join anything. There's a pop-up asking you to join, and yeah, I want you to join, but you can just X out of that and keep watching the live stream. It's completely fine. And my curiosity is getting the better of me because I see Nate over there typing a bunch. There's clearly activity in the comments. I have to know if anything interesting is going on or if there are any questions I should answer or anything like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of excitement for the stream and for ToolTrader in general. I think a question we could probably get in before we switch over is, what is the difference between a four-plane and a jointer?
Oh, yeah, it's a great question. What's the difference between a four-plane and a jointer? Let me grab a jointer. Hang tight just for a second. I think you'll still be able to hear me because I'm using Bluetooth microphone. And I just have to pop out into the other room and grab one and two planes. So, like every question in woodworking, it's more complicated than it sounds, and we can do it in about a minute. This is a four-plane. It's 12 to 14 inches long, and it's got a super curved iron and a very wide mouth for rapid stock removal. Some traditions call it a jack plane. It's very fuzzy. The next plane up from that is called a triplane. A triplane's more like 18 inches, maybe to 22 is triplane territory. 22 is closer. This one is, now that I've said that, this plane, which is a nice vintage handmade tri, is 21 inches. So this is a short-ish triplane. Triplane does the work we think of a jointer plane doing. It does edges and it flattens and straightens and all of that stuff. I don't use one very often. I find my jack plane and my 4-planer plenty. And then this monster here, this is actually a jointer plane. A true jointer plane is 24 inches long. I'm pretty sure this one's 26. And it is. This is 26 inches long. And these are for usually jointing and straightening longer work. Very often they were truing up the soles of other planes. And in some shops, the jointer hardly got used because all it did was true up the soles of other planes. It was kind of like a reference surface, like a surface plate that you would have in a machinist's shop. In some shops, that's what the jointer plane was for. In other shops, the jointer plane saw a lot of day-to-day use. If you're looking for something to do edges and stuff, get a triplane. They're smaller, easier to handle. They do the work really, really well, and they're much, much more common. So that's pretty much the difference. And a 4-plane is another way of saying jack plane, but if you say 4-plane, it means it's definitely got that curved cambered iron and a wide mouth. So we are coming to the end of our YouTube portion, not the end of our stream. Go on over to tooltrader.net and keep watching this stream. Don't have to sign up for anything. You don't have to join, anything like that. I'm going to burp. Pardon me. I've been drinking seltzer all day. And you can just keep watching this stream. So we're going to keep the party going. We're going to keep doing woodworking and answering questions and talking about stuff. But we're just about ready to disconnect the YouTube stream. And everything's going to go on totally uninterrupted on Tool Trader. So if you're already watching on Tool Trader, this is going to sort of be like magic. You're going to just keep seeing everything the same way. But if you're on YouTube, I'm about to lose you.